Now, an unprecedented hurricane season forecast.
This season is looking to be an extraordinary one in a number of ways.
Means now is the time to take action and be prepared for what's to come. Warmer waters expected to fuel storms.
Over decades, the ocean has now absorbed a lot of heat.
For the next 30 minutes, we are helping you get ready, detailing the changes for South Florida, impacting who has to evacuate.
So you're up there.
I'm right here.
So you're in
Northeast
C.
second. I guess so. I didn't know this.
And the supplies you need now.
I'm next weather meteorologist Lucette Gonzalez, and I'm helping you put together the ultimate hurricane kit.
There are also the solutions for keeping the lights on that aren't high above. They are down below. Plus, we dig into the role AI is now playing in forecasting and meet the people who fly into the eye of the storm to get you the information you need.
They're like their own creature. They treat you different, they feel different.
Now, Hurricane 2024. What's next?
And I'm next weather chief meteorologist and hurricane specialist Ivan Cabrera. We are live here at CBS Miami. Hurricane season, of course, is here. And while every season is different, there are things we look for to better understand what kind of season awaits us. So let's get started. And firstly, let's talk about this forecast, right? An 85% chance. This is the forecast that NOAA puts out in May, out ahead of the season. 85% chance of this being an above average season. So we know that's going to happen. But let's talk about what an average season typically looks like. We get 14 named storms. That's tropical storm force or higher of 39-mile-an-hour winds. We get half of those becoming hurricanes and only 3 becoming major hurricanes or category 3 and higher. But this is the concern this year. This is NOAA's most aggressive forecast they've ever put out. 17 to 25 named storms, 8 and 13 of those becoming hurricanes, and 4 to 7 of those becoming intense hurricanes. That's category 3 or higher. There are reasons why we talk about this and why this is going to be happening this year. I want to take you back to last year briefly, though, before we talk about La Nina, which is the opposite of El Nino. We had El Nino last year, and boy, those hostile winds in the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere can really wreak havoc on tropical systems here. We had that through the Caribbean last year, so we didn't have much activity there. The opposite is going to be the case for this hurricane season. A La Nina is starting to develop and will peak as we head into the peak of the hurricane season, which is, of course, heading into September. So now all of a sudden, those hostile winds lift up towards the continent here and leave the Caribbean with typically lighter winds. Now, there are interruptions here. We can have upper level lows that sometimes can disrupt these tropical systems from getting going. But generally, the pattern is one that is going to be more favorable for these systems to develop. And the reason for that, as I take you into the lab here, right, these are hostile winds up above. So this was El Nino last year. It literally cuts through these thunderstorms and doesn't allow them to develop. That's what we were in last year. That's not going to be the case this year. Things are going to be changing as we head into the peak of the season. So we're going to have these winds that are going to be light up above, and that's going to be favorable for more storms to develop. So, let's talk a little bit now about why the forecast is calling for more intense hurricanes. All they are natural giant heat engines that use warm, moist air as fuel. So first, warm, moist air over the ocean rises upwards. As that air continues to rise, the surrounding air rushes in to take its place. This creates increasingly strong winds and lower pressure at the center. As the air rushes in, it spirals, goes upwards into the atmosphere and cools, releasing its latent heat, and that gives energy to the storm. It also creates what you see around me here, these thunderstorm groups that continue to develop, fed by the ocean's heat. And when you have those light winds above, this process continues uninterrupted. Eventually, you'll have a tremendous volume of moist air converging from all directions, and that, of course, is when you get a hurricane and even an intense hurricane. But, this is a scary forecast, but this is rule number 1 from me. Don't be scared, be prepared, and we're going to get you ready as we head into this, what likely will be a very busy hurricane season. One of the main reasons, again, the key reason here is that we are looking at a very warm ocean, which can make these storms grow much stronger, especially one with record ocean waters. So And joining us now is CBS News national environmental correspondent David Schechter. David, let's start the conversation with what we just saw, those sea surface temperatures incredibly warm. And in fact, they are exceptionally warm to the point where we've been seeing records. Those areas also include the areas where we look for tropical development during hurricane season. So these temperatures are setting records, David. How does climate change make the oceans warmer?
Ivan, it's a good question. You know, our cars, our factories, our power plants, they release huge amounts of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. And that's what's heating up the planet. That warmer air mixes with cooler ocean water. And over decades, the ocean has now absorbed a lot of heat. And that is what's heating up the water. Right now, a third of the global ocean is experiencing marine heat waves. Well, why is the ocean so hot right now? That is an important question, but also very complicated. Scientists are intensely looking for answers, but at the moment, there's no consensus about that one.
So let's talk a little bit about how warm ocean water influences what we're talking about today, hurricanes. We often call it hurricane fuel. What do we know about the connection, David, between warm ocean water and the strength of hurricanes?
It's actually pretty clear. Warm ocean water can fuel stronger hurricanes, increasing the risk that they could undergo rapid intensification and cost billions in damages. Check out the trends of warmer water and stronger hurricanes. You can see temperatures are warming over time in the Atlantic, and now you can look at the strength of hurricanes over time, and the trend line there is also up. One thing that makes them stronger is rapid intensification, when maximum sustained winds increase by at least 35 miles per hour in a 24-hour period. That makes a storm much more dangerous, and ocean warming contributes to an increased fraction of tropical systems that undergo rapid intensification.
And this warmer ocean doesn't just make hurricanes more intense. Let's talk about rainfall amounts and how a warmer ocean can contribute to these big flood events that we've been seeing of late.
Absolutely. You know, we've seen tropical storms and hurricanes can also cause massive destruction because of things like storm surge, heavy rainfall, flooding, and high winds. The relationship between warmer air and precipitation is pretty straightforward. Warmer air leads to more evaporation. More evaporation means the atmosphere is holding more water, and that leads to the potential for more precipitation.
All right, thank you so much. It's David Schechter, CBS national environmental correspondent. As always, thanks for your insight.
There's much more ahead on Hurricane 2024. What's next? Flood zone maps are changing for thousands of South Floridians. Are you one of them? And what does that mean for flood insurance?
I'm Dave Warren in North Miami Beach. I'm here with FPL. They are taking wires that are above and putting them underground. It's all part of their Storm Secure Underground program. What it means for you and the residents here, coming up.
Plus, hurricane kits help us during a storm and after, but they need to be ready long before one arrives. See what you should start shopping for now. This is Hurricane 2024. What's next? Here again is Next Weather Chief Meteorologist and Hurricane Specialist, Ivan Cabrera.
Hi, everybody, indeed, and welcome back. I am here outside now, the CBS News Miami studios. We are located next to a big lake here in Doral, so that means we're located in a storm surge planning zone. But do you know if you live in one? And do you know what it means? The answer is critical in your family's hurricane plan. Next Weather meteorologist Cindy Plesser actually talked to some of you about whether you would leave if your home is ordered to.
Would you evacuate if you're told to do so by authorities?
I would definitely do so, yeah. It's not a game out here when a hurricane's come.
I've been through hurricanes before. Lifelong Florida resident. I don't know if you know this saying, if it's not a 5, you'll survive. That's generally kind of what I believe.
They're talking about evacuating from a hurricane when told to do so, because storm surge is a killer. It's the #1 threat to life and property. There are 5 storm surge planning zones in Miami-Dade County, ranging from Zone A along the coast to Zone E, which is further inland. Do you know which one you live in? If not, you need to find out now by checking the map at miamidade.gov.
So you're up there.
I'm right here.
So you're in
Northeast
C.
second.
You're
Yeah.
in C.
Mm-hmm.
So your zone is a lot better off.
Okay.
But that
Winning.
means for a Category 3, you would want to evacuate.
Okay. Yeah, I guess so. I didn't know this, but this is definitely something to take into strong consideration.
Pete Gomez is the Director of Emergency Management for Miami-Dade County.
It worries me that people are not going to take it serious, either because of apathy, they've never lived through it, or they just don't want the inconvenience of leaving their house, and that's when we're going to have a lot of problems.
Broward County zones are different. There are only two. Zone A, which includes areas that would require you to cross a bridge, and Zone B, the area east of Federal Highway, or US 1. Clay Pacheco is the Director of Emergency Management for Broward County.
You don't have to go 100 miles away. You can go 10 miles away, stay with a friend, stay at a hotel, or go to a shelter that will be providing everything you need there pretty much. And that's the key message.
Get out.
Get out. Run from the water, hide from the wind.
But Pacheco adds that only use shelters as a last resort. Plan well ahead and make arrangements. Know where you're going and how you're going to get there. And here's something else important in Broward you may not know about. The FEMA flood zones will change and expand on July 31st. Almost 90,000 more people will now be included in areas that make it mandatory to have flood insurance.
No, I didn't know that, but now I do. Thank you.
So are you going to buy flood insurance?
Yes.
Oh, really? I have no idea. I may consider, getting insurance for sure.
No, I'm not aware of that. Now I am, so I'm going to look into it. Flood insurance is important.
To find out if your area flood designation has changed, just go to broward.org and click on FEMA flood maps. I'm meteorologist Cindy Presser, CBS News, Miami.
Okay, so here's some important information about flood insurance. If you live in a flood zone, you should strongly consider a separate federal flood policy. Homeowners insurance doesn't cover flood damage, and some policies already require it. For example, by 2027, all Citizens residential policies that include wind coverage will have to have separate flood coverage. Depending on where you live, a flood insurance policy can cost as little as $500 a year. Check with your insurance agent, and keep in mind, a new flood insurance policy takes 30 days before it goes into effect. And it is always a fact after these storms, losing power during a storm is likely. And a lot of us know sometimes we can be without power for days or even weeks. Overhead power lines like the ones you see behind me are slowly being replaced with lines that actually run underground. Next weather meteorologist Dave Warren takes us into a neighborhood where that's already happening.
That's a welcome sound for those living on this street in North Miami Beach. Underneath and in between these houses, they are putting this. Through it, new FPL power lines, replacing those overhead.
See, the one massive issue that comes in storm situations and day to day is vegetation coming in contact with our power line.
Sean Johnson is with FPL. The Storm Secure Underground program is why they are on this street.
So when we identify neighborhoods, we use a variety of data and criteria, including outages during storms, hurricanes, vegetation-related outages. If you see the lines behind me, there's a lot of vegetation near those power lines.
It's these trees and other vegetation that can crowd around the lines that supply these houses. No issues on a calm day. But when storms hit, it's a different story.
One of the biggest benefits of having underground power lines is avoiding the leading cause of outages. Vegetation and trees, debris, other things like that making contact with our power lines.
So instead of running through it, now the lines will run underneath.
So this is our low-impact directional bore machine or horizontal drill. It allows us to minimize disruption to customer homes.
Customers like Collins Polk Jr., who's lived through a few outages himself with past storms.
The transformers, they would go boom, and the trees and stuff.
Even though it's a little disruptive now, he's looking forward to the end result.
Going through the process right now of all the trucks on the street and everything, but sooner or later, I got a feeling the whole city, county, state going to be underground.
It may be a brief disruption for customers like Collins, but he and every other FPL customer pays for this work, even if their lines are already underground.
All those different efforts are covered as part of a storm surcharge on all customer bills. It's around $4 a month.
Machines, supplies, and labor costs can add up, but the work they are doing now may reduce costs following storms, according to FPL.
It costs a lot to respond to storms, so by being able to shave days off and time off of the restoration, it'll save customers money in the long run.
Lowering restoration costs with this initial investment is what FPL continues to do.
Traditionally, overhead will be coming up from underground.
One house at a time.
So there is some cost that the customers are paying, but FPL hopes that that cost is lower than what it would be post a significant storm where there's widespread power outages with these power lines above ground. In North Miami Beach, I'm Dave Warren for CBS News Miami.
What's next when it comes to hurricane forecasting? Artificial intelligence and AI is already playing a role. Its goal, predicting hurricane landfalls much earlier than traditional forecasting systems. A new AI tool developed by Google DeepMind called GraphCast demonstrated this last year by predicting Hurricane Lee's landfall in Canada 9 days ahead, while traditional forecast models like the Euro managed only 6 days ahead of landfall. But it doesn't mean traditional forecast models will become obsolete anytime soon. Instead, AI models like GraphCast will serve as a complement. And while weather forecasts have significantly improved over the years, AI's ability to rapidly analyze past events to make accurate predictions could be a game changer. As we all know, accurate weather forecasts are essential for daily planning and, more critically, for warning communities about extreme weather events such as storms, floods, heat waves, and hurricanes. Traditional forecast models also require immense supercomputing power. They estimate numerous factors, including air pressure, temperature, wind speeds, and humidity at various atmospheric levels across the globe. Traditional weather forecasting also involves real-time measurements from various sources such as weather stations, satellites, atmospheric balloons, ocean buoys, and even sensors on commercial aircraft. These measurements are then fed into supercomputers, which use complex equations to simulate atmospheric changes and predict weather patterns. Google's DeepMind's GraphCast, however, leverages machine learning to analyze extensive historical data, including traditional forecast model outputs, to understand how weather patterns evolve. The use of AI in weather forecasting marks a significant leap forward in our ability to anticipate and prepare for severe weather events, including hurricanes.
Still ahead on Hurricane 2024. What's next? They fly in and out of storms at a time when we need information most. Next, weather meteorologist Casey Sherman takes us on board a hurricane hunter to see what's done in the air to keep us safe on the ground.
I'm next weather meteorologist Lisette Gonzalez, and I'm helping you put together the ultimate hurricane kit. After my segment, you won't have any questions about what you need to weather any storm. I have that story coming up.
Welcome back, everybody. The National Hurricane Center uses powerful computing modeling to create their forecasts. But you know, those models are only as good as the real-time raw data they receive. And what better way to capture it than from inside a hurricane? Enter the hurricane hunters. Next weather meteorologist Casey Sherman got a rare look on board a hurricane hunter plane and talked to its crew about flying through the eye of a storm.
It's intense work. Not for the faint of heart.
Sometimes it's like the worst wooden roller coaster you've ever ridden. Just insane lightning and everything was jumping around in there.
We often encounter hail as much as we try to avoid it, but we often encounter hail.
And every storm is a little different, presenting its own set of challenges.
They're like their own creature. They treat you different, they feel different. Some storms just kick your butt and other storms kind of just let you through.
But while they may be kicked around a little, hurricane hunters serve a role that is invaluable when it comes to hurricane forecasts. Flying 5,000 to 10,000 feet above the ground, they fly around, above, and into a hurricane in a variety of flight patterns that allow them to gather data all around the center of the storm. I got to go on board Kermit, a NOAA Hurricane Hunter aircraft, and the C-130 Hercules, an Air Force Reserve aircraft, both equipped with high-tech weather instruments, including multiple radars used to measure a storm. This is an important tool that the hurricane hunters use called a dropsonde. It picks up different atmospheric variables, pressure, temperature, winds in parts of the hurricane that they can't fly through with the plane. Each mission lasts around 8 hours, during which the hurricane hunters make several passes through the storm, often going in and out of the eye wall, the most intense part of the storm. The closer the storm is to making landfall, the longer they'll spend inside of it collecting data.
The scariest storm I've been through was Ian. Normally a hurricane will hit you with vertical ones that knock you up and knock you down a little bit. This one was actually hitting us one that knocked the aircraft side to side. That's definitely an uncomfortable feeling in an airplane.
But it's because of those uncomfortable flights, we are better able to get our community life-saving information when we need it most.
The analogy we like to use is like grilling a steak. You can see the grill marks on the steak. You kind of have an idea how well cooked it is in the center, but you don't really know until you insert a temperature probe, and then you know if it's rare or well done.
The data coming just from the hurricane hunters improves forecast accuracy by 10 to 15%, and the technology continues to improve. NOAA now uses everything from sail drones to drones that fly through the sky to sea gliders. They even have new technology that comes out each and every year. This is an experimental one. This is actually one of them. It's an extremely light drop sonde that's actually designed to stay and kind of float around in the hurricane for longer and collect more data. Of course, all this, it's all about leading to a more accurate forecast and being able to alert the public with as much time as possible if a storm threatens. I'm meteorologist Casey Sherman reporting in Sanford, Florida, CBS News, Miami.
And of course, living in South Florida means we always need to be prepared for the next storm. One of the ways we can get ready is by having a hurricane disaster kit. Next weather meteorologist Lisette Gonzalez is here to help you put yours together.
This year, an active hurricane season is expected, which means we all need to have our hurricane kits ready to go. Over 30 years ago, I survived Hurricane Andrew with my family, and since then, I've experienced, tracked, and prepared for many tropical storms and hurricanes. So if you're local like me, then you know the drill. However, if you're new to South Florida and never experienced a hurricane, then listen up. I'm here at Home Depot where I'm going to share some of the supplies you need to weather a storm. First things first, water. You'll need 5 gallons per person in your home for at least 3 days. Now, bottled water is okay, but you need to stock up early because it's one of the first things to go in a pre-hurricane rush. You'll also want to stock up on items like toilet paper and paper towels. If you don't already have shutters, you're going to want to consider getting some to protect your home, as well as sandbags if you live in a flood-prone area to protect your home from rising waters. Don't forget about flashlights, and very important, a battery-operated radio so you can listen in to live storm updates. Extra batteries, and how cool is this? It's a battery-powered lantern, but you can also charge your phone. It's very efficient. Keep in mind, we can lose power even in a tropical storm, so you may want to get a generator, as a long-term power outage could impact your neighborhood. And don't forget the extension cord, as you want to operate the generator outside of your home and at a safe distance from your home.
The key tip is to make sure that your generator is at least 20 feet away from any occupied building, as well as the exhaust facing away from any windows and doors.
After a storm, for cleanup, you'll need tools, protective gloves, mosquito spray, and don't forget a first aid kit. Now, I've shared just a few of the things you'll find here at Home Depot, but there are many other items you'll need, including cash, medication, non-perishable food for you and your pets, baby formula, diapers, and more. For a more extensive list of all the supplies you'll need for a complete hurricane kit, head over to our website, cbsmiami.com. I'm Lisette Gonzalez, CBS News, Miami.
You're watching Hurricane 2024. What's next? If a storm threatens us, the CBS News Miami Hurricane Network is here to keep you safe. These are our radio partners in Miami-Dade and Broward. And here are our radio partners in the Keys, which include US 1 Radio. Our newspaper partner is the Miami Herald. Its website is miamiherald.com. And if a hurricane warning is issued, South Florida PBS WPBT2 will broadcast CBS News Miami and TV 33 storm coverage with on-screen captioning. CBS News Miami Hurricane Special is sponsored by FPL, working for you every single day. Learn more at fpl.com/storm.
All right, everybody, before we go, don't forget rule number 1. Don't be scared. Be prepared for what's next this hurricane season. And, of course, you can do that with CBS News Miami on social media as well as CBSMiami.com. Our website's hurricane section is a comprehensive resource to help you with your hurricane plan. And, of course, count on live hurricane coverage always streaming on CBS News Miami, on Pluto TV, and the CBS Miami app. If you scan the QR code on your screen, it will connect you directly to our hurricane guide. I'm Chief Meteorologist and Hurricane Specialist Ivan Cabrera for the entire Next Weather team and all of us here at CBS Miami. Thanks for watching.